Okay, so yesterday I made a video regarding Pugna and the interaction of life drain on allies with Octarine cores. It's been mentioned on the Reddit in a couple different places, but self-damage actually does end up healing you if you have Octarine cores. So, with Pugna's life drain, you can have 4 cores and end up actually healing yourself, or at least equaling out the damage you're doing and end up healing through your natural HP regen. So today I figured I would make a little video covering exactly what the interactions with Octarine core and certain heroes are, as well as the general interactions and how you should expect it to work, and how you should expect it to change the meta. Perhaps we should go over a few things first. Hi, my name is Ark, or Arkantosh, whichever you'd prefer. I am a very avid player of Dota 2. I have about 1,800 hours played in total at this point. I have been playing for quite a few years now. I've also played other MOBAs, including Heroes of Newerth, Heroes of the Storm, and League of Legends. Across all MOBAs, I probably have about 6,000 hours of game time. That being said, I am a sub 4K player. I very much enjoy the meta. I very much enjoy reading about the meta. I very much enjoy theory crafting and knowing a lot about the meta and the pro scene. But things I say may be biased given the fact that I am not a 6K pro player or what have you. That being said, most of the things I'm going to discuss in this video are interactions and mechanical or game mechanics within the game as they are now in the test client one day after patch. So this is the morning after the patch came out. So everything I say is very much subject to change, but I will share a few of my opinions on how exactly the core is going to affect the metagame in my opinion. So obviously take those opinions with a grain of salt. I am no Dota genius. I do think I know quite a bit about the game, but that does not mean that I necessarily know exactly how it's going to affect pro games or pubs or really anything for that matter. I may be completely wrong with my opinions. And mechanically, this item may completely change before it leaves the test realm. So let's get started. Now, things you should know about the Octarine core. It procs off of not only magical spells, but also physical spells. This includes everything from Leshrac's Pulse Nova, that's his ultimate, to Kunkka's Tidebringer, which is his cleave. Now the way this ends up working is Kunkka's Tidebringer, for example, if you hit one target with the Tidebringer and the cleave hits no one, you end up not healing. But if you hit a target with the Tidebringer and you cleave targets with the actual cleave, you'll heal off of the cleave damage. Lifesteal will apply to the actual right click, the first target hit, and Octarine core's spell Lifesteal will apply to all of the cleave damage. Now, this leads to some very interesting interactions in regards to how heroes can end up actually using the item, who can use it and who can't. Now, the core also procs on self-damage. So that would be things like Pugna's Life Drain, for example, as I showed yesterday, as well as Huskar's Life Break, his ult. When he jumps on a target, the damage he does to himself, he will self-heal. Now, this does seem like it could quite possibly be a bug, but it might be intended. I'm actually kind of hoping it's intended, but we will see. Things that it does not proc on, the core, include everything that has a summon. So that would be Witch Doctor's Death Ward, Techie's Mines, Terrorblade's Reflection, his Q that no one uses. Treants from Nature's Prophet won't heal Prophet, but all direct damage dealt by the hero will heal the hero if you have a core. That is from spells, as well as from items. Radiance heals you, so does Dagon, so does Orchid's Soulburn proc. Mjolnir heals you as well. Basically, all damage from items heals you, as well as the cooldown reduction applies to items as well as spells. The cooldown reduction also applies to passive spells, so it applies to Kunkka's Tidebringer, for example. It will bring the cooldown from Tidebringer from 4 seconds to 3 seconds at level 4. as well as a few other interactions with certain things. Now, people have been asking certain questions about heroes on the Reddit, whether they'll be overpowered with this item, does it interact with this or this, and some people have replied in comments. However, I would imagine some people would actually like to see video evidence of some of these things, and I would also like to just provide said video evidence so people can see how the core ends up working in action and how it ends up interacting with things. Before I get started on actually showing you the heroes, I wanted to talk about the core as an item. Now, the core, you can't see it here unfortunately, it's not on the listed items list because it hasn't been updated yet on the test realm. But things that people should know about the core. People have been saying that it's extremely overpowered because of the stats, because of the spell lifesteal, because of this and that. Now, while I do agree it is a strong item, I don't believe it's overpowered. It costs 5,900 gold. The cooldown reduction does not stack. The spell lifesteal stacks, but the way it stacks is you end up getting separate healing instances from the damage dealt. So if you have one Octarine core, you'll heal 25% once. If you have two, you'll heal 25% on two separate healing instances, and etc. Now, that might sound extremely overpowered because if you get 4 of them, there's no diminishing returns, and you deal, or you get back 100% of the damage you deal. But think about what that means. You're using 4 slots for an item that gives you 25 int, some mana, some health, and the spell lifesteal, and 25% cooldown reduction that doesn't stack. As well as, and then you'll have 2 slots for whatever else. And obviously you're going to need to carry around bots. If it's endgame, you need a TP, so you'll need bots. And you'll have maybe space for an Aghanim Scepter or a Blink Dagger or another core even if you want to heal for even more. But with how expensive the item is, I don't think that stacking them is really going to be viable unless we're talking about 90-minute games. And even then, if all that the enemy caster has is 4 of them, yeah, he'll do a pretty good amount of damage because they give you 25 int apiece. It won't be crazy though. I brought up a Silencer game yesterday while I was testing it. I put 5 Octarine cores and a Blink in my inventory, and Silencer had about 225 damage at level 25. Now, of course, Silencer has the pure damage from his glaives, and he can also steal more int from enemy heroes as they die, but you also don't have space for an Aghanim Scepter, a Refresher, a Sheepstick, or any real hard damage items like a Daedalus or a Monkey King Bar, or even defensive space like for a BKB. And the item does not give you that much health. It gives you a good amount. You'll have about 3k at endgame, but again, 3,000 health at 90 minutes against enemy carries who are 6 or even 7 slotted with the new Moonshard item probably isn't going to make that big of a difference. I think that that's about everything. The item as a whole is definitely going to change the meta, but I don't think it's going to be as crazy overpowered as people think. We obviously don't have that much data yet because this is still on the test realm, but it should be able to be fine-tuned before it goes to live, if it needs to be fine-tuned at all. I'm going to go ahead and move on to actual heroes now, including some of the interactions that people are probably curious about now that I've mentioned exactly how the core works, as well as some of the heroes that people have been asking about, who will be overpowered with this item, etc. First hero we're going to cover is Bristle. Now, I saw a video on the Reddit showing how crazy overpowered Bristleback is going to be with the core, and just how unkillable he's going to be. Now, the item itself is good on him. It gives him mana regen, gives him health, gives him a little bit of int, so he can spam his spells more, gives him the spell lifesteal and the cooldown reduction, which ends up reducing Quill Spray's cooldown down to 2.25, Nasal Ghoul's cooldown down to just about 1 second, which means you can get even more stacks, or at least reach 7 stacks more easily. Now, the item as a whole on him is going to be very good. Looking only at the stats, alone makes it very good. The spell lifesteal, however, will make it even better. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys exactly how much lifesteal he ends up getting with each number of cores. These are more cores sitting here on the ground. I have the 1 here, and then I will cap out at 5, and we'll see exactly how much we're healing for on each amount of them. So with level 1, looks like you're healing for about 100. Obviously this damage scales up. It's less on the first spray, but as you go higher, you heal for more, and more, and more, and more, and more. And this is with only 1 core. Now keep in mind I'm on WTF mode, so this is obviously ramping up much faster. It's just to speed up the general process, but you get the general idea. Okay, so this is with 2 cores. So you're healing for about 100 right away, and then you're healing for more, 200, about 250, about 300, 325, another 3, about 375, and I keep scaling up again. And this is with 3 cores. This 3 core is probably about the upper limit that you would see. 4 maybe, but I would imagine 3 cores would be about the upper limit you would see on a Bristle at 90 minutes. So let's see exactly how much you end up healing with this much. And this would obviously be a very cheesy build. You wouldn't be able to get much of anything else. You'd be able to get like bots, maybe a damage item like an MKB, and maybe a BKB. But again, this is mostly for testing purposes. So once I hit 1,000 here, I'm going to go ahead and see exactly how much we end up healing for. First proc, healing for about 150, then you heal for about 300, 300 again, about 400 that time, 500, that was about a 600 heal, give or take. So you can imagine how crazy this can get. This is with only 3 cores. I will also go ahead and show off exactly how crazy it gets when you're hitting Bristle's back without Bristle spamming Quill Spray at all. And this is with 4 cores. I healed for about 200 on the first proc. I'll actually bring up the combat log here and we'll see exactly how much I ended up healing for. Whoops. Come on. As I said earlier, you end up healing. You end up healing for 4 instances when you have 4 cores. So you healed for 15, 15, 15, 15, and this was off of each hero, obviously. The starting heal was 10, and then you're healing for 15, 15, 15, 16, 15. The next, okay, this is a reset. So healing for about 15 straight away, and then you heal for... Oh, it's not updating. God damn it, combat log. You get the idea, though, the general idea. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. I'm going to go ahead and bring Bristle's health to about half, rather. I'm going to go ahead and pop God's Strength on all of the Svens, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit the poor Bristle in the back. Alright, let's see exactly how crazy this really is. Now keep in mind, this is with 4 cores. Destroyed. Absolutely no chance. Now, again, like I said, 4 cores, 6,000 gold a piece. If you're spending this much gold on an item that's its only purpose is really to heal you and make you ridiculously strong, I think if you farmed up that much, you kind of probably should be healing for that much. I just killed all the Svens, unfortunately, but I will come back once they are respawned, and we will see how much healing you get off of 1 core and Sven's hitting you in the back. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at 1 core. So now there's only 1 core in the Bristle's inventory. Oh, I don't have heal on this Sven. Alright, there we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, again, just 1 core. I'm going to go ahead and pop God's Wrath, or God's Strength on all of the Svens. I believe that's what yeah. God's Strength. Okay, now we're going to come up and he dies pretty quick. Now, this is, of course, assuming 5 spends. This is a lot of damage outgoing. But, again, Bristle doesn't proc fast enough with only the core. I'm going to go ahead and try that again, but I'm going to try it with full health. Obviously, the situation would be very different in an actual game. You would have armor and whatnot, so that was a bad test. But you get the kind of the idea. With only one core, it's not going to be as crazy. It'll still be strong, again, see, from full health. And this is without spamming. Now, if I spam on what the fuck, obviously they're going to die anyways. This is with WTF mode on, so I can obviously just press W 5 times and they all die instantly. But, again, with one core, it's not quite as nuts. I saw that video on the Reddit of the Bristle basically using Quill Spam and instantly healing for like 80% of his health, and I was like, okay, that's probably with like 4 cores. And sure enough, it basically is. One core would probably be a very realistic choice for a Bristle. It gives him some mana regen and some stats, and he can use all of those stats very much so. But I don't think we're gonna... maybe 2 cores even. But even then, with 2 cores, he's still very much killable. And with the new Shadowblade upgrade, that's basically... it basically disables his Bristle back. You can very easily kill him without any issues. So, please stop panicking so much about Bristle. There are definitely other heroes to worry about. Bristle will be strong with the item, but I don't think it's going to just completely outright break him by any means. Here we see that the Exorcism Spirits do indeed heal Death Prophet. Each one heals. Every attack heals her. A more realistic... they heal for about 10 health on every attack at or with 1 core. Give a short demonstration on how Kunkka ends up working with the core and cleave. As you can see, it reduces the cooldown down to 3 seconds, as I said earlier. This is hitting only the Timbersaw. As you can see, it doesn't proc. Now, if I hit more than just the Timbersaw, it does indeed proc, as you saw there. So if you hit multiple targets, aka you hit one with the auto attack, and then you hit one with the cleave, you will heal off of all the cleave damage, but not the auto attack damage. I'm going to look at Necrophos next. Now, Necrophos's aura, his Heartstopper, does not proc the core. I'm not exactly sure if this is a bug or if this is intended. It's likely intended, because if a percentage damage aura, health percentage damage aura could proc the core, that would be madness. Pure madness. However, his Q does proc the core, and I will go ahead and show you that now. You end up healing for a lot with 4 cores, obviously. But let's go ahead and look at 1 core, which is the more realistic option, as I'm going to continue to call it. So this is with 1 core. You end up healing for a pretty, reasonable amount when you hit all 5 enemy heroes. Now, the other thing that Octarine core seems to do that's rather interesting, it was something I was curious about when I was first testing the item yesterday evening. The item does not actually... Oh, the bots are going to die. Oh, they died. Rip. Okay, let's try this again. The thing about the core is it does not actually heal you for the amount of damage you deal. It heals you for the amount of health that the enemy loses. And some of you might know exactly what I mean by this already, but so you go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and bring these timbers low. Okay, now I'm going to Reaper Scythe. Now this should do a shitload of damage, but because the timber only had about 200 health to begin with, I only ended up healing for about 50. So it's based on how much actual health damage you deal rather than how much damage you deal. Alright, before we go off Necro, I'm going to go ahead and show you one more thing on him. As I said before, items do indeed heal you, so I'm going to show you Radiance with 1 core. So there you go. You heal for about 9-10 health per hero you're hitting, so that's about 50 health per tick, which is pretty good. And if you add in the Q on top of that, you can heal for a lot more. Necro is definitely one of the more crazy heroes, I think, that's going to be with this core item. When you add a Radiance to the mix, this is about 12,000 gold again. This is pretty expensive, but when you add these two items together, it's going to probably get a little bit nuts. You do a lot of damage, and you heal for a lot, so should be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and look at Pudge next. I'm going to just briefly show you the self-damage application of the item. He also looks very cool with it on. So, this is with 3 cores. With 3 cores, you end up actually healing. You actually end up healing with 2? Almost. It equals out a lot of the damage with 2. So, this also reduces the cooldown pretty significantly down to 8 seconds. The Dismember cooldown down to 22. This also gives you a lot of stats that he can use, and the Dismember being able to heal you just by default without an Ag Scepter is pretty significant. This is definitely a good item for Pudge, I would say. He doesn't really have very many items that I would say you build every game. Probably a Blink, I would say you build every game. Maybe a Force Staff if you're into that. But overall, I think that this item definitely has space in Pudge's repertoire of items that he could potentially purchase. I'm going to show you guys Tiny with... Oh, let me level up first so I don't fucking die instantly. I'm going to show you guys Tiny with Ags. So I'm going to let these creeps do a little bit of damage to me. Now, again, this works just like Kunkka's Tidebringer does, where you actually heal off the cleave damage but not the right click. So you're healing just a very tad minor amount off of creeps. Let me go ahead and spawn some very perfect to punch Timbersaws. All these poor innocent Timbersaws. Now when we get into this kind of a territory, you end up healing a lot more. So let me actually get some damage dealt to Tiny here real quick, and then I'll go ahead and punch those Timbers again, and we'll see exactly how much you end up healing off of 1 core while hitting 5 heroes. So, a lot. You end up healing for about 200. Tiny Carry, though, doesn't really have space for this item overall as a whole, I would say. Maybe with the new Alchemist change, where Alchemist can buy you an Aghanim Scepter, maybe you could make it work, especially with the new Moon Shard item, consuming that gives you the 60 attack speed. Then you can have the core plus an Ags for free, or free Ags, and by that I mean it's free in the sense that you get it from the Alchemist. You get free attack speed from Moon Shard, and from that I mean it doesn't use an inventory slot. So maybe, just maybe, you could make space for the core. But I have a feeling most people would rather buy something like a Satanic, or a Daedalus, or a Manta, or any other number of things. Here's Witch Doctor's Death Ward with the core. Does not end up healing you because it is a summon and is not actually direct damage from Witch Doctor. However, let me refresh here. Let me do this. This does heal. So Maledict will heal you with a core. So if we do some damage here, Maledict starts to do a lot of damage and you start to heal for a lot. You can't really tell because obviously I have no health lost, but I'm sure you get the idea. Go ahead and look at Veno next. So the actual Poison Sting does not proc the core, as you can see here. However, Gale does. That is all of the damage from Gale does. I'll go ahead and refresh here. Punch myself a little bit. Alright. And now we'll look at Ags as soon as they stop taking damage. Okay. Or Alt, rather. So, there you go. With Alt and 2 cores, you're healing a lot. This would make a Venomancer mid maybe, just maybe viable. Who knows? Probably not. I mean, It works in some cases against like TAs, for example, but the amount you're healing here is crazy. You could be at like, let's actually go down to pretty much 0 health. I'll refresh. Oh, whoops. I am the worst. Alright. So, again, you heal for so much every tick that even while I'm spamming, you're still healing for quite a bit. It's a lot of healing, even with only 2 cores. And if I go ahead and bring it down to 1... Whoops. That poor innocent Timbersaw. Okay. With 1 core, you're healing for about 60 every time it ticks if you hit 5 heroes. Or, well, yeah, about 70 actually, every time it ticks. And this is without applying Gale to anyone. The wards will not heal you because they are a summon. As I showed with Witch Doctor, they don't heal you. And Poison Sting doesn't heal you, which I imagine is probably actually a bug. But I am not 100% sure. Big Daddy No Tail once said, everything can work. Unfortunately, this is not one of those things. The core, unfortunately, does not proc on Sunder. It also does not proc on Reflection, because it is a summon. The illusions obviously don't heal you, and it does not heal off of Metamorphosis either. This is kind of unfortunate. It would have been interesting to see this item on TV. If you buy a Radiance on him, it will work on that, but it doesn't work on any of his abilities. As cool as that would be. It would be very cool to be able to sunder someone and heal yourself off of it. So you could sunder someone who's not quite at full HP and then end up healing yourself to full. But it seems to actually just swap the HP. It must be some sort of a different way of handling the damage dealt, and it actually just swaps the percentages rather than dealing perfect healing and perfect damage. So it's kind of unfortunate. It would be very cool though, but it does not work. Alright, last but certainly not least, we're going to go ahead and cover Leshrac. Now, a lot of people have been talking about how crazy Lesh is going to be with this item, and I agree. It is going to be a very strong choice for Lesh. I feel it's actually going to be a core item for him now. But I'm going to actually show you guys how much you end up healing just with Pulse Nova alone, and with how many cores it takes to heal for that amount. So this is with 1 core. You heal for about 140, 150 if you hit 5 heroes. This is with 2 cores. You heal for about 200, or sorry, about 300 actually. My bad. About 300 you end up healing for. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh here, do some damage. This is with 3 cores. You end up healing for about 400, about 450, actually. And then, well, with 5 core, or sorry, that was with 3 cores, and this is with 4 cores. And with 4 cores, you're probably going to heal for about 600, I would imagine. Yep, 600. So it's a very good item on him. It gives you mana regen, which is very important on Lesh, obviously, so you can keep Pulse Nova up. It also gives you HP, mana, and it also gives you right-click damage. As you can see, I have 200 damage just without any points in stats. I'll go ahead and put the points in stats now. This is with 4 cores. I have 239 damage, which is decent. I mean, you're not a one-position Leshrac, obviously. In this situation, if you're going these items, you're not a one-position Leshrac. This could potentially be maybe a mid Leshrac or an offlane Leshrac, and being able to do 200 right-click damage and also pretty much heal infinitely, as I will show here. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to throw the good old Chakram on Lesh. I'm going to throw 5 of them on him. Okay. Oh, well, I died too fast. Alright, look. Shit happens. Let's try this again. Okay, taking a lot of damage here. And as you can see, you end up actually pretty much equaling out. You're actually healing a little bit with 4 cores if you're hitting all 5 enemy heroes. Now, obviously, the enemy heroes can buy BKBs. They can also buy magic resistance, pipes, etc. But it is interesting to see that potentially Leshrac could become very fucking tanky. To the point where he's almost unkillable. This is obviously a 6k item, and this is 24,000 gold right here, just alone for these, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I spent most of the video killing Timber, so I figure I should probably show off just exactly how much you can end up healing as a Timber. Let's go ahead and get a ultimate scepter here. Item underscore ultimate underscore scepter. Okay, now we have double chakram. Now, Timber has an extreme need for HP as well as mana regen, so this item is very good. The cooldown reduction also reduces Timber Chain down to 3 seconds, his Whirling Death down to 6, which allows you to actually stack the stat loss duration. Timber Chain being a 3-second cooldown makes him extremely slippery, and being able to have 2 chakrams out that are healing you, like so. This is with 3. This is how much you're healing off of only hitting 3 heroes. So I'm going to go ahead and bring these back. Let me unselect my hero. I'll refresh the bots. I'm going to put them all together just for testing purposes. I'm well aware that this is not actually something that will happen in an actual game very often, unless you have like an Enigma who lands the biggest black hole that Toby 1 has ever seen. But with 3 cores hitting this many heroes, you're healing for a lot, as you can see. And this is with 4 heroes. I'm going to refresh here, do some more damage. Okay, I'm going to throw out a second chakram. And, okay, yeah, it's a little nuts. By a little, I mean very... Oh! Rip. Alright, all the bots died. But you get the idea. It's a lot of healing. 3 cores is a lot of gold, especially if you're going to be running a Bloodstone and a Scepter. But 1 core is very reasonable. And it will heal you for a pretty good amount. I mean, the damage per second on Chakram is 100, and if you have an Ags, that's 200 damage per second, and that's 25 health for every hero you're hitting, give or take, minus reductions. You're probably going to be healing for closer to probably about 18. And if you hit 3 heroes, that's 18 per tick, or even 2 heroes, or even 1 hero. You know, that's 18 per hero you're hitting per Chakram. So if you're hitting 2 heroes, that's 40 health per tick, basically. Or a hero with 2 chakrams or whatever. It's quite a bit of healing. And I think Timber is going to be really, really good with this item as well, as all the other heroes that I showed that can very much make good use of this, such as Necro, Leshrac, etc. It's going to be very interesting to see how this item ends up changing the meta. I'm going to cover that in just a second, though. Let's go ahead and move on to my final thoughts, and then I'll end this extremely long video. Okay, moving on to the end of this video, as it were. I know that there's plenty of other heroes that people probably wanted to see, but I hope I explained the mechanics enough, as well as showed off some of the heroes that people were really thinking were going to be crazy with this item, that people can kind of get a general idea for how it's going to interact with heroes that they're curious about. The item as a whole is, as I've said multiple times, very good. The cooldown reduction alone is good in Dota because most heroes are restricted by their cooldowns. So when you give every hero in the game 25% cooldown reduction, the game changes pretty significantly. But it's not just that. It also has good base stats. It has a lot of health, a lot of mana, a lot of regen stats on it. It also gives you a good amount of int, and then it also gives you the lifesteal, or the spell lifesteal, as they are calling it. The spell vamp if you're a League player. It's going to definitely rock the meta. It should be interesting to see how it's going to end up working out. I hope I explained it decently enough and showed off some of the heroes that you wanted to see. If you have any specific questions, feel free to leave them for me in the comments, and I will do my best to reply to them. I have tested a lot of heroes with this item, and I didn't want to record all of them because it would have been like a 2-hour-long video, and it's already probably going to be like 45 minutes. So I just wanted to leave it there. But like I said, if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. I hope you have a better understanding of how the core is going to end up working, assuming it doesn't change, the actual mechanics of it don't change before they hit live, which they very well might. But if they don't change, I hope you have a basic understanding of how the item works and how it's going to work, etc. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.